Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us here on our Tuesday for a live edition of our 10 Weather Impact Show. I'm meteorologist Aaron White, and it's been pretty quiet here the last couple of days, of course, with the weather, as we've been tracking a lot of sunshine and overall really nice temperatures up into the 60s over the weekend. We had 70s. We've had those nice cool mornings down even into the mid 40s, getting close to some record low temperatures. Not quite, but it has been nice and cool, and we are tracking more sunshine and still some nice conditions out there here today. Here's a look at the Columbus Zoo this afternoon as we have clear blue skies and perfect temperatures right now into the 70s. Here's a live look over downtown showing mid 70s here with mostly sunny skies. Winds are pretty light and they will stay light here as we go through the course of the rest of this afternoon and really for the next couple of days as we got mostly sunny skies and mid 70s here for temperatures today, getting closer to the upper 70s and into the lower 80s here as we go through the extended forecast. But as we go through this course of the next couple of hours, we'll be into the upper 70s, gradually cooling down here through the 60s as we get later into this evening and for tonight, down into the 50s, and a couple of us could dip back into the upper 40s, but overall we should see low 50s here for the overnight hours. So still nice and cool, but those overnight lows will start to rise as we go through the extended forecast. Along with our afternoon temperatures, we're going to start to see the warmer conditions and also a little bit more of that humidity start to make a return here as we get closer to the weekend. But really, for the next couple of days, it's going to be pretty quiet. We do have a chance of rain here as we look ahead to our Sunday. Now, what we are also keeping an eye on, of course, is the color change, and we are starting to see a little bit of change, and that's more due to some of the drier conditions and some of the summer heat causing stress within some of the different types of trees. But we are at least seeing some of the fall colors happening around parts of the Rocky Mountains. There, at least some patchy change. We'll start to see more colors changing here as we go through the course of the next several weeks through September, and really getting closer to the peak of the colors as we get into mid-October here across much of the state of Ohio. So still some time, and really it's going to be helpful when we have these dry conditions, a lot of the bright sunny days, the cool nights as well. That really helps to lead to more vibrant colors here as we continue through the fall. So we'll likely see some good color here going into October. What we're not really seeing, of course, is the rain. We got clear skies, dry conditions here today, tomorrow, all the way through Wednesday afternoon. Not a lot happening, maybe a few scattered clouds passing through the area, but really it's just quiet weather, warm temperatures, again near normal here for this time of year in the low 80s going into tomorrow, but it's likely going to be above that here as we head into the weekend. Now, as we look at the long range forecast, we're going into the weekend now because that's when we're going to see those warm temperatures, likely mid 80s for highs here on Saturday and Sunday. So if you're heading out for the Buckeyes game Saturday evening, it's going to be pretty warm. It's going to be sunny, and what we are tracking with a little bit of humidity around, there could be a couple pop-up showers, maybe a thunderstorm. And right now the computer projections are keeping it a bit further to our north and west. But notice here as we get into Sunday morning, here around midday on Sunday, maybe a couple showers, maybe a thunderstorm rolling through the area. So we're going to keep it at about 20% here for the weekend, as a lot of the projections are not showing a lot of activity here. So this is just one of them that's shown some of it trying to make its way into central Ohio, but others are keeping it a bit further to the west. So we'll watch it here for the weekend. Right now, Saturday night into Sunday looks like the best time frame for any activity. Otherwise, it's going to stay fairly quiet here for the extended forecast. And as we look at the long range, even going further out, this is for days 8 through 14. So getting into mid to now almost late September, temperature-wise, looks to stay fairly mild as we get above normal conditions here across much of the Midwest and even into the South. And as we talk about normal high temperatures, that's around the mid to upper 70s for this time period. Right now, our average high is around 81 degrees. So by this part of September, we're seeing high temperatures normally in the mid 70s, but we're going to add about 5 to 10 degrees, maybe as much as 15 degrees to that here through the course of the next 7 days, and likely through mid-September as we have more 80s in the forecast. Now, what we also don't have, of course, like I mentioned, is the rain. We have that minor chance here this weekend, but right now It does appear like across Ohio and all the way through the Mississippi, the lower Mississippi Valley, seeing the dry conditions continue with stormy chances here, rain and showers and thunderstorms here across the mid-Atlantic states down into Florida, of course, with some of that humidity around, and likely more chances across the Rocky Mountains into the high plains there out west. So we'll be watching our chances. We could use some rainfall as we are starting to see the drought conditions start to get a little bit worse here in Ohio and across areas in the Great Lakes region. So some rain would be useful. It's just going to be some time right now. Sunshine in the forecast here for the rest of today. 78 for a high, south winds at 5 to 10. And as we look ahead to our 7-day forecast, you can see the trend is on the up and up as we go into the warmer temperatures here with highs in the 80s starting on Wednesday. We got 81, plenty of sunshine, maybe a few scattered clouds, but that's all we have is a lot of sunshine. So good news if you want to get outside, go for a hike, go take the dog out for a walk, any outdoor activities you have planned here for the next several days. Not tracking any rain, and as we look ahead to the weekend forecast, and even for Friday night for high school football, things are looking great. We got mostly sunny skies, 80s for highs, so by the time we get into Friday evening, likely cooling down a little bit into the 70s. And then, of course, for the Buckeyes game on Saturday, nice and warm. And right now for Sunday with 86 degrees for a high, we will have to watch that chance for a couple showers or thunderstorms Saturday night into Sunday. Notice our overnight lows getting into the upper 50s to lower 60s. So that's a sign that we're seeing some humidity around. Dew point temperatures getting back closer to 60, so that could help fuel that chance. But right now we will keep it at about 20% here as we head into the weekend. So we again are watching that. Otherwise, just a nice warm forecast here with highs into the 80s right on into next week. Now, it's been more than a decade since a toxic algae bloom led to the water crisis in Toledo. Now the University of Toledo is taking an even closer look into the impacts of the algae bloom. Now this time it's not through the water, but instead through the air. Now, the university is studying how the toxic algae bloom particles in the air impact people over time. It's through a multi-year study called the Great Lakes Aerosol Monitoring Project. It uses 4 non-invasive lung tests to study health impacts in volunteers. Now, throughout the several years, and they're actually looking for people to step in and help.
The sooner we can fill these spots, the better, because the study is meant to be a long-term 5-year follow-up, both before harmful algal bloom season, in the middle of the season, and after the season. So the sooner we can recruit these study participants, the better off we will be in a better position to answer the question.
And regarding the study, they're actually specifically looking at people who live near the lake. And also in this week's Climate Watch report, more federal employees are being terminated after criticizing leadership at the Environmental Protection Agency. Here's Jesse Mitchell with the report.
We're keeping an eye on the climate. Here's what you need to know. The Environmental Protection Agency fired several staff members who criticized agency leadership. At least 10 employees were dismissed after signing a letter called a Declaration of Dissent that argued the agency's environmental deregulation policies are harmful. The union representing many EPA employees called it retaliation and an attack on workers' free speech. More than 100 others who also signed the letter remain on leave and could face termination. Meanwhile, more than 85 climate experts criticized a July Energy Department report on greenhouse gases. The scientists say it downplays the threat of carbon pollution and is full of errors. The Department of Energy study has received more than 2,000 public comments online, and critics warn it's part of a broader trend of using selective science to justify policy decisions. And finally, scientists are turning to pop culture to test a new way to protect cattle from wolves. Researchers have flown drones that play heavy metal music like AC/DC's Thunderstruck song and audio clips of movies to scare off the predators. The early results are promising, but researchers warn wolves may learn to adapt to the noise. That's your Climate Watch. For the latest on climate and environmental news, go to cbsnews.com and follow us on Instagram at CBS News Planet. I'm Jesse Mitchell in New York.
And before we go today, check out some of this video from South Florida. This is actually from the city of Miami, where slow-moving thunderstorms brought torrential rainfall, and scenes like this, just extensive flooding there along some of the roads in and out of Miami. Scenes like this are not uncommon to the state of Florida, of course, through the summer with the heat and humidity around, but definitely not ideal situation when you course need to get somewhere and you come across a flooded roadway. Of course, as we always say, when you encounter flooded roads, turn around, don't drown. You never know exactly how deep the water could be, and you could easily get yourself stuck into a situation that, of course, you do not want to be in when it comes to flooding. And as we talk about more flooding, this actually occurred in Kansas over the course of the past couple of days, as we saw showers and thunderstorms rolling through central Kansas. And this is actually showing a flooded park and people walking through the streets and through the roads there, as torrential rainfall brought several inches of rain in just a really short amount of time. And some locations actually picked up more than 5 inches of rain since Monday, and even got more rainfall across eastern parts of Kansas here today. So a lot of rain in areas that really now don't need the moisture, and hopefully we'll see at least some moisture here. Nothing quite like that here in Ohio, but some rain, of course, would be good as we get into the end of the weekend. Now, also happening over the course of the next few weeks, the monarch butterflies are actually migrating south, getting away from the colder weather and going towards those warmer conditions as we take a look at their migration here as we go into the next several weeks here. As we look across Ohio, this is actually going to be mid to late September when we start to see the peak number of the monarch butterflies. Again, they're moving away from the colder conditions in Canada and New England, where a lot of them are right now. We are expecting to see those peak numbers here across the next few weeks, and that may actually get extended a little bit longer because we're seeing these warmer conditions, these warmer than normal temperatures here in the extended forecast, and that could lead to some of the monarchs sticking around just a little bit longer until we get that next big burst of the cooler weather here, and that's going to lead to those monarchs eventually continuing their migration further south, thousands of miles across North America, ending up in central Mexico for the winter season. And something you can consider doing to help the monarchs is by picking and planting milkweed seed pods this fall, and that can help to ensure future eastern monarch butterflies actually thrive, and that's according to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. And if you happen to spot some of the monarchs over the course of the next couple of weeks, of course, snap a picture and you can send it to us here at 10TV. So that'll do it for us here today. Again, the weather forecast is looking pretty quiet as we go through the rest of the work week. The weekend, still looking nice with those mid-80s in the forecast here for Saturday and Sunday. We will have to watch that chance for a couple showers or storms as we get into Saturday night and Sunday. But as it stands right now, as you saw there with the forecast, it's looking pretty quiet here across Ohio and really a large part of the Midwest, seeing that quiet weather continue. So that'll do it for us here today on 10TV Plus. Coming up later on this afternoon, Chief Meteorologist Jerry Martz will be in looking ahead to that next chance of rain on Sunday. So until then, you can catch more news and weather online at 10tv.com.